It is said that history becomes legend as its events recede into the mists of time, and that memories grow dimmer in the slumber of peace. Thus the noble peoples of Yurak languished in 1,000 years of peaceful splendor, growing forgetful of the dark time their land once knew, heedless of the ancient enemy who yet labored in silence. And so Golgoth, the terrible god of death, beheld that the world was ripe for an era of terror and blood. He summoned Balkoth, the most evil of his sorcerers, and bestowed upon him a mighty artifact of power, that the necromancer might better serve his master in heralding the coming days of darkness. The wings of Balkoth's wretched steed beat the air like thunder. The land shook beneath the rumor of his mustering host. The air was filled with cries of his victims. Who can say what new perils may yet befall as they struggle to defeat the ancient evil, to reunite the land, and to become Lords of Magic.
Alright, this week's old game is going to be Lords of Magic. It's a half strategy, half RPG game along the same vein as Heroes of Might and Magic. It was developed by the same company that created the much more popular Lords of the Realm series, and Lords of Magic itself only really got mediocre reviews, but keep in mind that my views on this game may very well be tainted by nostalgia goggles, because I used to love this game as a kid. So, like the intro video showed, Balkoth, Lord of Death, has come to ravage the land of Yurak, and your goal is to defeat him. Or you can actually ally with him too and just destroy every other faction. I guess that works. So when you get started, the first thing you need to do is create your lord or leader of your faction. And he's by far the most powerful unit in your army. And he has, not only does he have just much stronger abilities, but he can also level up much farther than any unit. So you can pick between any of 3 classes for him to be. He can be either a thief, a mage, or a warrior. The thief is good at sneaking and subduing opponents to torture them for information. The mage is good at casting spells, and the warrior is just good for brute force. So, once you picked your lord's class, you pick one of the 8 faiths for him to belong to. And the 8 faiths are life, death, order, chaos, fire, water, earth, and air. And each faith has its own strengths and weaknesses and its own opposing faith. And they all rely on different armies and tactics to win the game. So take Life and Death for example. Life relies mainly on fast-moving, lightly armored elves, while Death relies mainly on slower-moving, more heavily armored units. So it's important that you pick a faith that suits your playstyle. Now, once you've created your lord, you get put into the Overland map, and you take turns moving your units around and getting into combat. And from here, your first goal is to free your great temple from marauders. And once you do this, you gain control of all the lands and buildings belonging to your faith. But it's not really an easy fight to get your great temple back, so first you need to go around getting into encounters and fighting some easy dungeons to level up and get some better items. But once you are stronger and take back your great temple, you gain control of the capital city of your faction. And from here, you can recruit units and make people work on getting you certain resources to support those units. And this is where the game starts getting really good. From here, your goal is to defeat Balkoth or ally with him and destroy every other faction, like I said before. And this is where you start getting really big armies, and you start getting in fights with bigger monsters and get better items, and sometimes even get in fights with the Lord, and those are by far my favorite parts of the game. So, now I'm going to talk about some of the mechanics of the game. So, first of all, the combat has a lot of good things about it. In one party you can have 3 champions. They're similar to your lord, but a little bit weaker. They can wield items and everything. And you get 9 military units too. This allows for a sufficiently large and entertaining battle. And there's also a fair variety in units. Each faction has totally unique units. None have the exact same ones. And they can recruit 3 different types from 3 different buildings. And all factions also have 2 legendary creatures. There's one that can be summoned continuously, and the other can only be summoned once in the whole game. And they did a pretty good job of keeping these balanced and not making them game breakers. But of course, the combat is far from perfect. The AI is pretty bad. Your units will sometimes completely ignore an enemy next to them, while the enemy is somewhat inept at controlling their own. Thankfully, the combat maps are pretty small, so this isn't such a problem. The AI for the turn-based part is okay. It does an okay job of defending itself and exploring, but the problems with it are that they often split their armies into very tiny, easily defeatable groups that they do better just by keeping them together. And they also do not understand what a fair bargain is. Oftentimes later in the game, they'll just ask for your legendary creature as a gift to them, which is just ridiculous. So, like I said, my views may be tainted by nostalgia, but I believe I've given it a fair and mostly balanced review. So, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.
Thus was the evil Lord Darkoth at last vanquished at the hand of a mighty hero, and Urak knew peace for a long age. The land became renewed and was cleansed of the poison of Darkoth's wicked labors. His wretched servants were driven from every corner of Urak, and the cities returned once again to their former glory. And Golgoth, the terrible god of death, seeing that his efforts had come to naught, and now, with none willing to serve him, passed from the world like a shadow, and troubled its peaceful people no more. But how long would this last? Only the seers can say.